What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel.
Welcome, people. Welcome back to the Democrat Family channel. So as you guys come in, we're asking you to like our video, click that like button, click the thumbs up, and to subscribe if you haven't already. Now today we're going to be talking about a very interesting topic. So we've been hearing a lot of persons talking about it, and definitely it's been on your mind, right? Or your neighbor. The Airbnb regulations that are coming out. What are they? What are they up to? Will it be good? Will it be bad?
Right. So the Minister of Tourism, Edmund Bartlett, he announced recently at some event that they are looking into, putting some regulation in place for Airbnbs. All right.
Definitely.
We're not sure what they're coming with, but this is hot on the heels of New York City putting basically an all-out ban. It's not really an all-out ban, but it's significant. Because currently what they're saying is that you will only be able to host guests for 30 days stays or more. You can only have 2 guests. You will have to be living on the premises that you're operating your Airbnb. So all of these things, will make it very, very difficult for the typical Airbnb player to
get
survive.
Involved into the Airbnb market. So basically, they're not saying, okay, we're banning Airbnb, but they are banning Airbnb.
Yeah. All right. Guys, I want you to know that New York City is not New York in general.
New York State.
New York State in general. It's not. New York City is just a small subset of the whole New York State. All right. The wider New York have vast lands. All right. So if you really want, if players in New York want to continue to host the Airbnb, they can go in other areas of other cities in New York to do their Airbnb.
Yes.
New York City itself is very condensed.
So New York City itself has basically maximized its land capacity for buildings.
Yes.
Right? So it's unlike areas like Jamaica, which basically is largely undeveloped and is in dire need of housing. Alright? Right.
So New York City, it is at its peak as it relates to real estate. And if there's a growth in Airbnb in that space, then you'll find that the houses that are available for rent will be depleted, so persons will be out of housing. That's not necessarily the situation in Jamaica. Jamaica is largely undeveloped. Likewise, a lot of other places in New York that is still open to Airbnb.
Yeah.
All right, so we just want to get that out there. All right.
Yes. So hot off that heels is basically the idea of us in Jamaica now implementing, or the government in Jamaica now implementing regulations on our Airbnb industry, which has basically been booming since 2020, right? And the general perception has been that this regulation will be negative. From our comment section, we can tell you persons who are optimistic about Airbnb have thought about this as being a negative deterrent, and persons who are not liking Airbnb have used it as a cheering point. Yay! Right? So in our comment section, we have seen basically the positive people who are for or even against Airbnb perceives that this should be a negative move for the government to get involved, which is kind of sad, which I think is a negative shot at the government. Y'all need to change that perspective, okay? Right. When we get involved, people need to say, wow, what is our government going to do for us? All right?
And not just about what you're going to be doing for your friends or how to basically just boost revenue and stuff like that.
So I mentioned that Airbnb boosted in 2020. Airbnb, for those living under a rock, is basically persons having a home, extra space in their home, or having a house that is empty and basically utilizing it for short stays. Utilizing it for short-term stays. That is 2 days, 1 day, 1 week, 1 month, 6 weeks stays from persons who are either locally in Jamaica or overseas. This has been used by persons local for when they're moving from parish to parish to do business, for fun, for pleasure, for reunions, for everything, funerals, everything. It's also been used for persons overseas Jamaicans overseas coming back home, it used to be this big fuss when they come back home, where am I gonna stay? And it's a deterrent because them no want to come and go back in them old community where them a come from. Them can't catch up at hotel because the hotel fee them expensive.
Yep.
So how do I come back home? Airbnb has made it so convenient for them. Them can fly in for 2 weeks, 2 days, funeral, 5 days, 10 days, anything one need for happen in Jamaica, they can literally be sure that they have accommodation now through Airbnb. Foreigners from different countries can now come to Jamaica and get an authentic feel of Jamaica by being in an Airbnb within the community and experience the culture and the people from an authentic Jamaican standpoint.
And guess what? In that setting, the average Jamaican will become, or they are players in the hotel industry, or the tourism industry. Because typically, with the hotel industry or the tourism industry, only the big guys benefit. The small guys are just carried with us, by the way.
Guys, we have company.
Yeah, so we actually just came out, so we're gonna do a little bit
we are doing outside activity today.
Yeah man, we have the bicycle behind us, right? It's an electric bike, so we're gonna be completing a video with it. We're in the hills of Hillshire right now, so we're gonna be completing a video of it, so you guys can stay tuned for that. Yeah, but anyway, so typically the small guys like us, though Jamaica is
it's a prime tourist destination,
right, but the small guys like us wouldn't be able to benefit. The only way we can get some form of income from it is to basically to be like wiping floors or serving or cooking in the hotel. So you as an average ordinary Jamaican, you wouldn't really reap such big benefits, right?
From the tourism industry.
Right. And you all know that these hotels are foreign owned and the profits are shipped out. Yeah. Right? So through Airbnb, we have been able to rescue some of that revenue that these foreigners have been raking in.
So in areas where Airbnb is actually being practiced, we've seen an increase in persons being able to become gainfully employed and even to use this as a lucrative side also. Yeah, for example,
hello.
Hi Kyrie. You don't want to watch Blippi anymore. So basically the local industry, the local towns have been benefiting from increased economic activity. First of all, this is a lucrative way for persons to be able to manage their mortgage. Have you guys realized that the housing prices in Jamaica are skyrocketing? So it's moving from $10 million 3 to 4 years ago to now $26 million. Right? So when you look at that, the ability to pay for some of these mortgages, having an Airbnb actually increases the ability for a lot of these old homeowners to be able to afford to own homes. So that in and of itself is a positive. Side hustle skyrocket with these Airbnbs around.
So you find that even for persons operating cleaning services, typically a domestic worker, they'll be paid like minimum wage, so roughly $12,000 for the whole week of work, versus these days with Airbnbs, a cleaner can be paid that in one cleaning, depending on the size of the home, of course, or half of that. So in 2 cleanings, they'll be basically earning what they would normally earn, from a week's work in just like 1 or 2 cleanings. So even as it relates to this, it's been very good for the average man,
It's also good for the community as well. As I mentioned before, a lot of persons will be struggling to pay their mortgages. This is one of the determining factor whether persons can afford to actually buy some of these homes nowadays, because the mortgages are so expensive. So it actually gives them the opportunity to earn while paying for their home. Persons accredit the high housing prices to Airbnb. Persons accredit high renters fees to Airbnb. And this is basically because they've not taken the time to actually give it any amount of thought. So it was easy for them, that's my perception anyway, it's easy for them to just jump to a conclusion. When it comes to criminal hideaways, Airbnb actually has a profile. So persons on Airbnb are known. Most of the persons who operate an Airbnb have a camera on their homes. When persons are doing long-term rental, you have camera there to see walk on your yard. A lot of the time, criminals are renting places and they're living right next to you. And they've lived next to you for months and you wanted your daughter, your son, to date them and their family. Yeah. Even though them a criminal mastermind, right? Yeah. How well do persons who actually rent their house for long-term, how much research did they do? We've heard of a lot of instances where persons have rented their house long-term. Airbnb is a short-term rental where you know exactly the persons who are coming. You are able to monitor them more closely, and it offers a lot more security than putting somebody into your house where you don't know from Adam to stay and live with you forever.
Mind you, we know there are some undesirable players in any industry, you know, and they you know, it wouldn't be unique to Airbnb. So there are some persons that probably wouldn't be doing as many checks and so on. So in this instance, the regulations, you know, properly thought out regulations can help the industry. We're not saying that regulations is not good, but we just have to ensure that they are done for the right reason, right? Ensuring that any regulation that they're coming with is done to benefit the average citizen and not just the high-level investors, you know, if you want to put it that way.
First, let's talk about greedy host. I'm not quite sure what they're referring to, because if you're doing a business, your business is to increase your revenues. If you sell patty, you're looking to expand the amount of patty you can sell and the almost locations you're selling patty. If you sell groceries, the same thing. I'm sure whatever work they are working in, they're looking to increase whatever it is that they're doing.
Definitely.
So I'm not quite sure what they mean by greedy host.
Yeah, even the hoteliers themselves. They are constantly building bigger, newer hotels all over the world. They're greedy too. I mean, we're living in a capitalist society where...
Water.
Yes.
To go in the water?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, we live in a capitalist society where this thing is all about, you know, increasing profits, you know. So the Airbnb industry would be anything different, you know. So persons have attributed the increased cost of rentals and, you know, homes in general to Airbnb. You know, though Airbnb might have caused some additional demand on homes, we can't single it out and say, hey, Airbnb have done this. Generally speaking, this is mainly due to the fact that persons are becoming more desperate for housing. Right, the supply is significantly below the demand, and we've seen this even recently. Last week with the launch of Oak Estate, where they've announced like the phase one, like under 200 homes, and literally hundreds of persons, nearly like thousands of persons online and in person actually are expressing demand in the home. So that just show you that the supply is woefully lacking, and when that happens, you know, automatically you have an increase in the demand for homes. Also,
there's like less than 5% of Airbnbs within communities. So if that is the case, then it cannot be that 5% is spiking the price for anything at all.
Right.
When it comes to rental cost going up, have you considered the fact that mortgages have been going up?
Exactly.
If you're now buying a home that costed $7 million a couple years ago, and now you're buying it for $15 million, $20 million, you are not going to be renting it for the same amount of money. We're looking at mortgages that are now $100,000, $120,000, $150,000, $200,000 mortgages. You cannot have a home being rented for $50,000,
$60,000. It doesn't make sense.
Yes,
it does not make sense. So
you have to cover your mortgage.
If you look at it, if the investor want to rent, they wouldn't be able to rent it for $50,000, $60,000. They're gonna be renting it for way more than that. And at the same time, if the rent won't be able to cover the mortgage, they probably will have to be looking elsewhere, and that's where Airbnb actually comes in.
What Airbnb has done is to boom the construction industry. What we're seeing is that persons are trying to build those unique finds in places that are not necessarily in your gated communities. You have some communities, you have some places that Airbnbs are right now that, you know, they're just really unique finds.
Those villas, you know, those cottages, you know, quite different.
There are definitely, Adrian, and there are persons also who are expanding their home. So they're building at the back, to the side, above, and they're also using these increased accommodations for Airbnb. So definitely the construction industry has definitely seen a rise, and we're also seeing where other areas are basically filtering off, or people are able to get lucrative side hustles from this. Car rental is also something that is definitely coming into play. With increased Airbnb usage also comes car rentals. So other areas are really booming in and around Airbnb. So basically, persons have also spoken about the whole hotel point of view. The persons who use Airbnb, they basically this is within a different niche, a totally different niche. Even if you're foreign persons or you're tourists coming to Jamaica, hotels still wouldn't give you what you're getting for an Airbnb. You're getting an authentic, down-to-earth Jamaican experience. You're mingling within the community.
Yeah.
A hotel doesn't do that.
Right.
Hotels offer exclusivity. You're exclusive. You're within this location, getting this particular feel, this particular environment. In Airbnb, you're out into Jamaica, experiencing Jamaica for yourself.
Right.
All right. For the local persons coming, there used to be a big hindrance, because when they came to Jamaica, they're like, me either have to go to my family yard, or me go to a hotel. Hotel too expensive, family yard too expensive, because if you know, you know. All right. Airbnb offers a totally different experience where persons who are even living overseas can easily come on Jamaica 2 days time, not to think about where they must stay. Go on Airbnb. Go on Verbo, because let's face it, I know Airbnb alone do short-term rentals nowadays. And they can easily get their short-term rentals in a nice, comfortable place. And it offers a place where some of the time them can host them friends from one time.
Right.
Them family from Woy can come
and visit them for a few hours at a time. You don't get that at a hotel. Right?
So it's a totally different niche.
Yep.
When you also look at the hotel sector, how can you hate on Airbnb when the people in Jamaica, the local Jamaicans, are benefiting from their hard work, and they are seeing and reaping the physical benefits, versus a hotel industry where the Spanish, the French, the whosoever there be that has money come in Jamaica and capitalize on our land and our resources, and capitalize on our people and our culture, where them put in, you understand? And all that money that they make, it doesn't stay here. When an Airbnb person can hire when somebody who's hosting Airbnb is paying far more than those people who are cleaning in hotels, the people who are cooking at hotels, they're getting far more if they work with an Airbnb person.
Exactly.
Right? A local person, and all of those benefits are being filtered out to the wider community. When you're working at the hotel industry as a cleaner, almost cleaner can afford a $26 million house.
Exactly.
Almost of them can afford a $10 million house. Let's just be real. The people who are working in the hotel industry in Jamaica, that are from Jamaica, are oftentimes the persons in the lower end jobs that are just working hand to mouth.
Yes, they don't really hire managers, Jamaican managers. We've been to hotels and we've seen that. I've been to a hotel as recently as a couple of weeks ago, Ocean Coral. The managers are they don't look like us. They're Spanish people. And we went there last year as well for a similar purpose. And the hotel managers are all foreigners. So they don't hire Jamaicans for higher level jobs in the hotel industry. And we've seen that. I have many friends that studied hotel and tourism management. They don't work here in Jamaica. They can't get jobs in Jamaica as a manager in the hotel. They only can take up front desk jobs or waiters or cooks. They don't get the higher level jobs at all. These higher level jobs are reserved for foreigners. The profits, they go overseas. They don't stay here in Jamaica, unlike the Airbnb profits. All right? So, the government, we are not against regulations, but regulate bearing the average
Jamaican in mind. We want the impact to be positive, and the opposite of what is perceived. So this is what we're hoping for, and this is where our video is basically wrapping up, and this is the meat of the matter. We are hoping to see regulations that will benefit the local Jamaicans who are doing Airbnb. we want to see benefit that actually benefit Jamaica. We are against putting in regulations that did not consider the local persons participating in this industry. And that means that we want to have the local Airbnb host included in these discussions.
Right.
When government are having these discussions, they have to include we, because they include who is the regulations for.
Right. Remember that even the consumables, you guys might not be getting the tax off the bat. But even when it come on to the consumables that we use to run our Airbnb, those are purchased from the local stores. We buy tissue, for example, cleaning supplies, buy the cases. You know, all of that is through local businesses that they themselves pay taxes. And that 29% of people that came down here spending them US dollars, that must account for some amount of respect for you to include the Airbnb host in your discussions. Right.
So that whatever regulations that are being put in place can actually be of good to this industry. We want to see regulations being put in place and or elected ministers and personnel working to see how they can incorporate ecotourism into Jamaica. Jamaica is so beautiful, and the locals can benefit from that. We don't have to see the foreign people them, oh my God.
Alone.
Not the money people them.
Yeah.
I mean, I have nothing against the money people them making them money. When they make the money.
Yeah.
But I do also want the local 80% of Jamaicans who are suffering, who can't make it, more of them want to see them a benefit too.
Right.
I mean, I talk benefit for those who go buy a mackerel shop. I talk a benefit so that they can send their kids to schools.
Right.
So they can build them own a house and live comfortable, because Jamaicans need to live good too.
Definitely.
Right? So we would like to see regulations put in place that can actually do that.
Yeah.
We want to see community tourism boosting from these regulations, and we want to see what ideas the government has in place to boost the sector. Because if it's not to boost the sector, then what else? We will not regulate for.
Yeah, exactly. Or to streamline and make it better.
Make it better, because you cannot be if you make it worse in Jesus' name.
Right. Yeah, man. So I guess this is it, you know. We're gonna call it, you know, right here. You know, so let us know in the comments what y'all think.
Yeah, let's hear from you in the comment section. Remember to subscribe if you haven't already. Turn on your post notification bell. Put the setting on all.
Yep. Yeah, man, guys. Thank you all.
Peace.
Yep.